And that takes a massive toll on your relationship. And I have to say that I'm really thankful that I'm in this with my husband. He's been fantastic. I know many people wouldn't have survived as much as we have. I worry about money in the future. You know, we could have been in a better place if maybe we could have come to terms with not having any more children. Have we wasted time? And yet, in my gut, I know it's possible. And yet, you fight this whole, the ageism thing is huge and is devastating, but you can't say in your life when you meet the person you want to be with. And unfortunately for me, that was later on in life. Hi and welcome everybody to the Endo Fertility podcast, where you will be empowered to learn how to thrive and conceive with endometriosis. If you want to understand more about your endometriosis, how it can affect your fertility, and how you can personally take action to optimise your health and life, then this is the place for you. I am your host, Lizzie Alexander, founder of the Endo Fertility Specialist. Join me every Wednesday as I dive into topics that will support and guide you, from knowledge about endo and conceiving to nutrition, lifestyle and mindset, pain management to assisted fertility support, functional nutrition and testing, and much more. Together, we will explore a holistic approach to healing that equips you with a toolbox full of diverse strategies to help you manage your endo and enhance your fertility journey. So sit back, relax, and enjoy listening. Hey everyone, welcome to episode 62, and apologies for the wait. I have been away on holiday in Thailand and it was incredible. And then I got sick with an nasty virus this last week, which I caught on the plane. Funnily enough, it's the first plane journey since COVID, I think, that I've not worn a mask, and it was just typical. I got something, I thought it was migraine, but actually then my husband got sick. So I would love to have batch recorded, but right now I am not that organised. I'm kind of living in the moment, working with my clients, managing life. And so this week, what I wanted to do is I wanted to bring you an episode all about infertility awareness, because it's Infertility Awareness Week in the UK. And I wanted to bring a few tips for those that you can share with people who don't understand fertility. So you might have family members, friends that you might want to share this episode with that may help them if they know that you're going through fertility. But actually that's kind of like just this little bit here. What I'm actually sharing is I recorded rather an impromptu video this morning after I went for my first sea swim in a long time. Funnily enough, I was in Thailand for 2 weeks and didn't actually do a sea swim. And so I don't know, it just came to me. I really wanted to share some of the emotions around my journey. It's very raw, it's very personal, and that's kind of like the main part of this episode. You'll see I've still got goggle marks, having just got back from that. As you know, I mean, anybody who's listening to this mostly are people who are going through that. For those that are listening who aren't, infertility is extremely common. It's so much more common than we ever think, but the problem is it's not openly discussed. It's still really, really taboo. And then you kind of think on top of that, baby loss, pregnancy loss is even more taboo than that. And it's so emotionally sensitive and it's difficult. It's really difficult for those who are going through it. But I also appreciate it is very difficult for friends and family who know that you know they've got loved ones that are going through it and don't know how to deal with that. And so there are a couple of tips, and actually I will be sharing a video later on social media around this where I was just literally walking along the beach having a rabble, and I thought I'd just cover these a few more actually. So just in terms of what you can do, just listen. So if you are if you've got a family friend, just listen without trying to fix it. I know that I'm definitely a fixer, but it is really important just to listen, understand what people are going through. They don't want solutions. They may just want to talk about what they're going through. Avoid sharing stories of people who've got pregnant through various means, whether it's relaxing, whether they've decided to adopt or trying a specific remedy. Yes, okay, you think that might be helpful, but at that moment in time, that may not be helpful. If they're open and they want solutions and they're asking for solutions or asking to hear, you know, they want some hope, then they'll ask for that. Check in regularly. I think this is really important, but like kind of respect their boundaries. So if someone's wanting space, then respect that, but just check in and just ask them if they're okay. Be mindful if you or family members have got pregnancy news, or you're complaining about pregnancy or complaining about children. If you have got children, this can be triggering for them. And it is hard because it's this, you don't want to be walking on eggshells, but being mindful, and maybe you've said something like, you might have had a whinge about your family. So it's not saying you can't do that. So if you have children and you're having a whinge at how tired you are and etc., and just say, look, I realise that, you're obviously going through this and you probably don't want to hear about this. And they might be like, no, that's your life. Or they're like, thank you, appreciate you for regarding my feelings. Or they might even say, do you know what, actually right now, I'm at a particularly sensitive point. I'm not very good at hearing those things. So as much as I want to spend time with you, can we just talk about other things and maybe not children? So I think that is really helpful. And I know that some people aren't good at communicating, but if you start those conversations or if you kind of instigate some of that, it can be really helpful. Remembering special dates that can be difficult. Due dates from losses, anniversary of failed treatments, dates of baby losses can mean a huge amount to your friend or family, loved one. So always invite. So if you know someone's going through fertility treatment, particularly say like a family member, and it's, your child's birthday party, don't not invite them thinking you're being sensitive. Invite them, but if they decline, then respect why they might do so. So always be inclusive of people. Educate yourself about infertility. This is also a really good one, so that you understand what it actually means, so that they don't have to explain to you. And just acknowledge that grief is always going to be around. It may come in waves. It's going to be ongoing. And even if they, that your loved one resolves it, and they have a successful treatment, they're still likely going to experience grief, particularly if there are losses that are involved in the past. It doesn't negate those losses. They've still lost a child. They've still lost time, emotion, the rest of it. They've gone through this, and until they deal with that grief, there is still going to be that grief. I think some of the ones that, for me, that are really poignant is, when you meet new people, just be aware of this. When you meet new people, particularly kind of in those ages of 30 to kind of like 50, and if they're married and they don't have children, or they're with a long-term partner and they don't have children, don't kind of, and you may not know this, but I suppose don't start the conversation with, do you have children? It's just, they might not have children, they might have chosen not to have children, they might be struggling to have children. And it's always, I've noticed actually, because I've been moving around, it's a question that often people ask. We often ask, do you work? Which often could be a triggering one if people are parents and they don't work and they've lost their identity. Same as like if you are trying to have children and you are with someone or not with someone, and when you're at that age where it's like you would like to have children, people always ask you, do you have children, as the first question. It's like, well, maybe you could ask, what are you interested in? What makes you happy? Do you like to do exercise? Do you like to go, to shows? Do you maybe start the conversation with something different rather than do you have children? And then the other one, if you do end up on the children topic and they do have children and they've got, say, one, don't ask, because I've had this and I know it's funny, it's still with me actually. Don't say just the one, you've only got one. Why have you only got one? Because they might have been going through infertility problems. They might have decided to have only one child. But don't assume in a way, because this can be very triggering as well. And then I suppose finally, if someone says that, because sometimes when you meet someone new, they may, because there's different scenarios, I suppose, is if you're meeting someone new in a circle, or if you've obviously got family friends, but if you're meeting someone new and they tell you that you've been going through fertility issues or a family or loved one, then don't respond with silence. I know it's hard. It's really hard, but don't respond with silence. Try and acknowledge that what they're going through must be really tough, that unless you've gone through it yourself, you don't understand. And it's the same for anything, I suppose, in life. If you've lost a parent or a sibling, or unless you've gone through that, you're not going to understand it. But you can certainly acknowledge that what they've gone through must be very harrowing. It's a huge emotional burden that they're carrying, and unless you have literally gone through the same experience, you're not going to understand it. And with fertility, the experiences are different, of course. What someone's going through is going to be different from what someone else is going through. So just acknowledge it. I know sometimes you can be stunned into silence. You don't want what to say. You feel like you might be treading on eggshells, but just maybe even give them a hug, or just say, "Can I give you a hug? I feel like maybe you need it." Hopefully you found that helpful. Now, I want to, before I jump into the actual episode, because that wasn't the episode, that was kind of like the just a little bit of a share, I think, on how people can help others. I just wanted to say that this is quite raw. Some people might find it triggering, so if you don't fancy listening to my story, then turn it off there. And if you do, then carry on. I don't know really why I recorded it. I was sat on the beach after my swim this morning. One thing is quite interesting is that when you walk or swim or use both your arms, one after the other, it actually gets your brain processing. So if you want to ask any questions, if you're thinking about anything, and I think because I was thinking, it's Infertility Awareness Week, I feel like I want to share something, I don't know what, and it literally came to me after the swim. I just felt like I wanted to be a bit more raw and share how I was feeling, and so that's what it is. I hope you find it helpful, not triggering for anybody who's going through that, and realizing that you're not alone in this journey. There are lots and lots of people out there who are sadly going through that. It doesn't make it any better, it doesn't make it any easier, but realize that, like I said in this video, I understand, I see you, and I send you a really big virtual hug. And if you want to send me a message just to say what you're going through, then I am here to listen. Hi everyone, I wanted to share my feelings around my fertility journey. I've just been for a swim, and swimming is so meditative. It just gets you thinking, and I've just just recorded a video to put up onto my stories about Infertility Awareness Week and things not to say. And as I was swimming, it's amazing when you move both your arms, it kind of makes you think. And I was just thinking, actually, I wanted to share just my feelings around my fertility journey. And I know obviously I've got the podcast and I do that, but I'm often quite protective of myself, and it's quite, I suppose I'm someone that keeps my feelings inside. I always have been, and I wanted to share a bit more of that so that those who don't go through fertility understand it a bit more, and those who are obviously going through it realise they're not alone. As some of you know, some of you don't, I'm Lizzie Alexander, and I have set up my own business as a result of my own journey. And we struggled to have our son, who's now 6. So from when we started to when we conceived was about 2.5 years, and in that time I got diagnosed with endometriosis. I'm not going to go into that kind of like story, but then since then we've been on a much longer journey to try and conceive a second. And some people will say, well, you're lucky because you've got one, and don't get me wrong, there's not a day go past that I feel that way. But any fertility journey, anyone who goes on a fertility journey will go through a whole range of emotions, guilt, sorrow, anger, frustration, fear. We've been on it for so long now. What is it, 2025, and we started trying to conceive in 2016. I mean, it's 9 years. We've been married 10 years this year, and 9 years of our marriage has been trying to conceive. And it becomes you as a couple. It's so destructive. I am an upbeat person, and so I do my level best to try and hide a lot of those emotions, but those emotions are there. The first time round, when you have no idea, you fear it's never going to happen. You think everything's wrong with you. You think everything's wrong, with your partner. You question everything. Every month is this like ticking time bomb. every month is another month that it doesn't happen. We've only ever had one pregnancy test, and that was the one for our son. So we've never had one which you could say is fortunate. We've been fortunate because we've never lost a pregnancy. But then equally you could say we've never gained, we don't know whether our blessed son, and we feel so lucky, is our only, and I feel guilty for wanting more. But then we watch our son and see that he so wants a sibling, needs one, we want one. And also, why should we feel guilty for wanting something more? And it crucifies you in terms of finances. I can't tell you how much we've spent in the last 9 years on fertility, on combination of IVF and testing and supplements and alternative treatments and lifestyle things, and it's been crazy. I mean, it's one of the reasons we're living in Oman. It's helped us to pay off some of our debt. I think, yes, we're debt free this month finally, and that takes a massive toll on your relationship. And I have to say that I'm really thankful that I'm in this with my husband. He's been fantastic. I know many people wouldn't have survived as much as we have. I worry about money in the future. We could have been in a better place if maybe we could have come to terms with not having any more children. Have we wasted time? And yet in my gut I know it's possible, and yet you fight this whole, the ageism thing is huge and is devastating, but you can't say in your life when you meet the person you want to be with. And unfortunately for me, that was later on in life. And so it's I was talking yesterday with lovely Julia at Pineapple Fertility Coaching, and she, about the whole ageism. And of course we didn't get pregnant. We had my son I was almost 40, and of course now I'm 46, and we've tried IVF in the last year, and we've actually gone to donor eggs, and that's another journey in itself, just because that felt right for us. But as we've since found out, the protocols haven't been right. They didn't consider my endometriosis enough, although it was good in terms of looking at infections and things, and that's where IVF clinics, it's just it's so hard to know the choices that you're making, because there are road clinics out there. Doctors, do they know what they're doing when you've got complications like endometriosis? It's really hard. It's not just for me. I see it with my clients, and they get put through so much. And if they'd been listened, if they'd had the right advice and guidance and done pre-tests, things could have happened sooner. And so that, I've got a lot of anger around that. And I suppose I just wanted to share that. I'm not quite sure kind of like what the point of this is. It's quite a big share, really. But the fact that it's lonely. There are times, I suppose, one thing I do find being in the fertility space, I think it has helped me, because I am with other women who are going through the same, but then equally because I'm working in that space, I also feel sometimes, am I worthy of it? Because although I'm going through it, I haven't succeeded a second time. But I then tell myself, as if I am my own client, that every case is different, and every situation and time frame is different. What might have worked the first time isn't going to work the second time, and there's no right or wrong path, otherwise everybody would get pregnant each time, and there's different things going on. And and sadly I do have age against us, and there is no kidding ourselves around that. but it's hard emotionally in so many ways, and it's hard to try and pick yourself up and have that resilience all the time, and especially, you know, and I find so much reward working in the, you know, in this fertility space, raising awareness, helping others to not go through as long a journey as I have. And then when I see that they get pregnant, and not all do, because, you know, I'm not God, you know, I can't. Same with other people, you know, some people do, some people don't, and some people's journeys will take longer than they do. And I love it when I hear from clients who, you know, a couple of years later, with the work they've done and carried on and found other bits to add to their puzzle, and then they do get pregnant, and that is wonderful. But I also sometimes find it hard because it's also in my face all the time, and have I made the right decision to work in something that is still so emotionally raw for me. I've been nearly talking 10 minutes at you now, but yeah, I just wanted to share that it's got so many emotions, and for those that have never experienced this, just be kind to those that you know that are going through this. They've got so much underneath that they won't be sharing. Anyway, that's my story. We're still investigating for us, and as time goes by, I will share more. You know, I think what I've learned from all of this is always follow your gut instinct, and my gut instinct was always that the endometriosis was playing a big role in the fertility, and it wasn't being considered. And having gone through that, 3 transfers last year with donor eggs, and it should have worked, it didn't, and the protocol didn't factor in my immune system. And I've since then been speaking to a highly regarded doctor, and I will share more about that as time goes on by. And he's like, yeah, definitely your endometriosis wasn't factored in. I thought I'd made a good choice about a clinic, but equally we live out in Oman, and it does mean that things are not as available here, and we've travelled for it, and that has, again, it's cost a lot emotionally, physically, and I've got so many lessons, and I've shared some of them on the podcast, and I will continue to share them on the podcast. And I have been having some breaks here and there in my presence on social media, and that is just my way of, I suppose, protecting me. I'm working with my clients, and I'm very busy and love and have so passionate about so much of it, but sometimes I have to come off social media. Anyway, I am gonna say goodbye for now, and hugs to all those who are going through this. I understand you, I see you, and to all those that don't, just hold kindness and love in your heart for those that are going through this, and just be there and listen. So see you later. It's getting hot here. I hope you all have a lovely week, and whatever it is that you're doing, that you find something that brings joy to your life, whether it is going for a swim, going for a walk. I know that the sun is starting to shine in the UK. I can't wait. I'm having a little visit coming back in May, and I'm looking forward to having some of that spring-like weather that you have in the UK. So thinking of you all, and I'll catch you soon. See you later.